Okay, hello, welcome everyone to the Art of Living Buddhist Book Club, Chapter 2, Part 1. So this is a ongoing series with the Monk Life community where we are reading through together, discussing and exploring the teachings of Buddha through Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Art of Living. And so we're now on Chapter 2. And this is, I guess in total, this would be like part 6 of our series. We've been going for a while. But even if this is your first time watching a video, it's okay. The teachings will still be relevant for you. It's not like a novel where you need to be caught up with the story so far. You can catch up right where you are right now. So 10 minutes from now, if you're watching this after it's already been recorded, that is when we will officially start with our reading and our book club. And until then, we'll just be giving some time for people to join in and the people who are here to settle in to this space. All right? So welcome. I hope this activity, this meeting will bring some peace and wisdom and benefit to your life, and we will officially get started in at the 10-minute mark. So if you're watching after it's already been live, sorry, I think there was an echo going on. If you're watching this after it's already been live, you can just move ahead to the 10-minute mark, and that is when we will officially get started. Yeah, sorry about that echo that was coming through, but hopefully it's fixed now. Hey, Anastasia, welcome.
Hello. Looking forward to today's reading.
How are you doing? How's your
I
life?
am fine. It is pretty busy, tiring with work, but good nonetheless.
Hi there, Don. Welcome in.
Hello.
Bonte, how was the housewarming party or get together?
This is so when the Sri Lankan people when the Sri Lankan people are getting purchase a new house, they invite the monks to come and give a chanting, and then they offer food and donations to the monks. And they feel they have the idea that that brings a blessings and good luck to their home. So that's kind of what that practice is about, and it was nice, very nice event. We were there for about 2 or 3 hours.
Nice. Thank you for sharing.
Hi there, Kyle. I don't know that I've seen you around before, but you're very welcome. Nice to see you here.
Thank you too, Vante.
Okay, so we will officially begin in 4 minutes. 4 minutes until start time. Someone in the YouTube live chat is asking, why are Tibetan practices so different from other Buddhists? Um, the foundation of the philosophy, the basics of Buddhism are still the same in Tibetan Buddhism, but maybe just because it's such a remote place, and they had a unique society and a unique culture that adapted Buddhism, that they have certain unique ideas and practices that aren't that don't exist in other forms of Buddhism. If you are watching on TikTok, it's very advised that you join the YouTube live stream. Much better uh, quality, much better way to watch with a moderated chat. And you can find the YouTube by just searching for Monk Life or Welcome to Monk Life. And we are currently live over there. And you can also join the Discord if you want to join us in discussion as we go through our Buddhist book club. Just change my settings here. A little bit hot. Okay, I think you all can hear me. Should be able to. Hey there, Nimue. Mental one. Okay, and everyone should be able to hear me on the YouTube as well. Can everyone in Discord hear me? And can I hear you? Could someone speak so I can check? Okay, I couldn't hear you at this moment. So the joys of audio issues. Okay, how about now? We can hear each other. Oh, okay, it's all good now. Yeah. So we are officially late, 1 minute and 50 seconds late, but that's okay. We're about to get started. Okay. So welcome everyone. We're going to begin with our Buddhist book club, and we are now on chapter 2 of Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Art of Living. So you're welcome to take out your book and follow along, or if you don't have a copy, that's all right. You can just listen. And as we go through this book, please feel welcome to ask questions, to share an insight, and at various times as we're reading through it, we will take a break and open up the space to give people an opportunity to share. If something stands out to them, something that they notice that's inspiring. So Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Art of Living, Chapter 2, Signlessness. A cloud never dies. Death is essential to making life possible. Death is transformation. Death is continuation. Suppose we look up to the sky and notice a beautiful cloud. We think, ah, that's a lovely cloud. Then we look up a few moments later and the sky is clear and blue and we think, oh, the cloud has disappeared. One moment things seem to exist and then they are gone. We look at things this way because we have a tendency to be caught up in signs, appearances, and familiar forms. And this distracts us from seeing the true nature of reality. When we see something we recognize in the phenomenal world, like a cloud, we say it is there, it exists. And when we can no longer see it, we say it is not there, it no longer exists. But the underlying truth is that it still exists, even if its appearance has changed. The challenge is to recognize that thing in its new forms. This is the meditation on signlessness. Whether or not we can understand the true nature of birth and death and overcome fear, grief, anger, and sorrow depends on whether we can see things with the eyes of signlessness. If we know how to look with the eyes of signlessness, it is not at all difficult to answer the question, what happens when we die? So this seeing with the eyes of signlessness is to see interbeing. And so to see that what makes up a cloud or what makes up our loved ones who have since passed away was not just that separate person. was not just that body, it's not just that cloud that we see, but it is the connection, the relationship that that being, that cloud, has with everything else. Totally interconnected. So looking with the eyes of signlessness is to recognize that thing, that person that we love, that cloud, that beautiful experience in all other phenomena that we see. That there was never a separate person. There was never, our loved one was never separate from anything else. Our loved one is not separate from the relationships that we have with them and with the world. So the challenge is to recognize that thing or that person in its new forms. This is the meditation on signlessness. Signlessness, the second door of liberation. A sign is what characterizes the appearance of something, its form. If we recognize things based on their sign, we may think that this cloud is different from that cloud. The oak tree is not the acorn. The child is not the parent. So if we recognize things solely based on their appearance, we will think that the oak tree is not the acorn, that somehow the oak tree and the acorn are separate. We may think that the child is not the parent, that somehow the child can exist without the parent, or vice versa. At the level of relative truth, these distinctions are helpful, practical, but they may distract us from seeing the true nature of life, which transcends these signs. So the true nature of life transcends merely being caught up in appearances and kind of arbitrary separation. The Buddha said, "Where there is a sign, there is always deception." Where there is a sign, there is always a deception. A sign is what characterizes the appearance of something, its form. The Buddha said, "Where there is a sign, there is always deception." Anyone have an idea about that phrase, that teaching? Where there is a sign, there is always deception.
For me, I guess that it means that any sign is just a representation of something. So there's always something to look into there because it is a deception, whether it's of yourself or of the world. Just decide to look into it more, to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, when you think of something as a sign of that, if you think of some event or thing in reality that's a sign that you take as a sign of a certain outcome or thing happening, that could just be a story that your mind is telling you, and not not a real truth about reality. It could just a sign in air quotations could actually just be something that's reinforcing a story that doesn't exist in real life, only exists in your mind.
So maybe our predisposition to get stuck in that sign or what appears to be rather than a truth is that deception. Someone says the sign is only in our minds, and Liz says signs are superficial, and a sign here has the meaning of the appearance of something, its form. And maybe we have Nimue to share something. I see that Nimue is typing. Okay, Nimue says in the Discord text chat, I think the deception is that the sign draws a box around a thing, and that box separates it from interbeing, or how it inter-is with the world and its past and future and all other things. Thank you. That is wonderful, Nimue. So the Buddha said, where there is a sign, there is always deception. With the insight of interbeing, we can see there is a profound connection between this cloud and that cloud, between the acorn and the oak, between the parent and the child. So while the separations that we draw between birth and death, the separations that we draw between a leaf and a tree, or the fruit and the tree, are fundamentally arbitrary, because one does not exist without the other. They totally inter-are. With the insight of interbeing, we can see that there is a profound connection, a deeply relevant, a deeply important connection between this cloud and that cloud, between the acorn and the oak, between parent and child. They inter-are. The cloud that was in the sky earlier may seem to have disappeared, but if we look deeply, we see that the same elements that made up the cloud have now become rain, mist, or even snow. The true nature of the cloud, H2O, is still there, existing in new forms. It is impossible for H2O to pass from something into nothing, from being into non-being. Although we can no longer see it, the cloud has not died. Perhaps it turned into rain, which then became the water that flowed out of the faucet and into my kettle, filling my cup with tea. The cloud that was in the sky yesterday has not disappeared. It has become tea. It has not died. It is just playing hide and seek. And this also references something that we went over in the first chapter, at many parts of the first chapter, that these experiences or these forms, these beings, me, you, a tree, whatever it might be, is made up of non-tree elements. I am made up totally of non-me elements. Water, the food that I eat, the heat from the sun. And so there's this kind of energy that's coming together at this moment, causes and conditions that are coming together at this moment for this me to be arising. But what really substantiates this me? What really is the heart of the tree, or the heart of this self, is made up of non-tree elements, non-self elements. All kinds of different energies and phenomena and causes and conditions coming together at this moment for this body to be here, for this tree to be here. So the cloud that was in the sky yesterday has not disappeared. It's not truthful to say that the cloud that was in the sky yesterday has disappeared. It has become tea. It has not died. It is just playing hide and seek. You, too, are always changing form. You browse through a family photo album and come across a photo of yourself as a young child. Where is that little child now? You know that it is you. You have the same name, and yet it doesn't look like you. Are you still that child, or are you someone else? This is a practice of contemplating your own signlessness. Today, you look, speak, act, and think differently. Your form, feelings, perceptions, and consciousness are all very different. You are not fixed or permanent. So you are not the same person, but you are not a totally different person either. And maybe we can relate to that when it comes to ourselves, but it's also true of other people. It's also true of the people we see in our environment, the people that we have relationships with. No, you are not the same person, but you're also not a totally different person either. The separation that we come up with, that we feel, tends to be somewhat arbitrary, because what we are really made up of, what is really ourself, is made up of non-self elements. When you are no longer caught in specific images or appearances, you can see things more clearly. So when you are not weighed down, chained to complex ideas about yourself and other people, hanging on to this idea and that idea, constant chasing after something, trying to get rid of something, constantly running around. When you are no longer caught in specific images or appearances about yourself or other people or about the world, you can see things more clearly. You can see that the little child is still alive in every cell of your body. It is possible to listen to and take care of the little boy or little girl in you at any time, or little person. You can invite that child to breathe with you, walk with you, and enjoy nature with you. This is a method that Thich Nhat teaches and encourages people for dealing with trauma, dealing with the death of a loved one, dealing with a parent that is perhaps distant from us, but we still care about them, um, or our, that little boy, that little child within us that had a suffering, wasn't taken care of, didn't have someone to spend time with him as much as he wanted. We can invite that aspect of ourselves, whether it's a parent that's passed away or a loved one or our own inner child, to breathe with us, to walk with us, to give our heartfelt attention to all aspects of our life here in the present. In this very moment, all of us are dying. Some of us are dying more slowly and some of us more quickly. If we can be alive now, it is because we are dying at every moment. We might think that someone else is dying and we are not, but we shouldn't be fooled by appearances. There are two levels of truth about birth and death. At the level of conventional truth, we can say there is birth and death, beginning and ending, creation and destruction. We can, for example, look at a calendar and put in the date of when someone was born and when someone died. Most of us get a birth certificate when we are officially born, without which it is difficult to get a passport or to register for school. And when we die, a death certificate is issued with the date and time of death. In that sense, birth and death are real. They are important. They are useful concepts, but they are not the whole truth. Looking more deeply, you can see that the moment you were officially born is not really the moment of your birth. It is only a moment of continuation. Before that, you already existed. You were in the womb for 8 or 9 months. At what moment did you become you? Some people might say you should move your date of birth to the day you were conceived, but that would not be entirely accurate either. Long before the moment of your conception, the elements you are composed of, the elements that are at the heart of your being, the very foundation of your genetic makeup, and that coming together, that beginning process of birth, were already present before your conception, were already present in the sperm and egg that came together to help you manifest. You also existed in all the conditions that supported and nourished your mother as she was pregnant. And long before that, you were in your grandparents. In fact, you could keep pushing your date of birth back infinitely. There is no moment when you did not exist. That is why in the Zen tradition we ask questions like, what did you look like before your grandmother was born? So we can establish arbitrary distinctions about me, myself, who I am, who I really am, and what I really am not. But for this person, for this expression of, hey, I'm really this person to be happening, we are totally supported by the sun being the way that the sun is, by the oxygen being the way that it is, by our bodies continuing to function in a certain way, by having water. We've kind of been sustaining ourselves. We don't notice it, we don't focus on it as much, but we've been drinking fluids constantly since we were, coming out of our mother's womb. And our mother also was constantly drinking fluids to support that life, to support this experience. So the distinctions that we draw between me, myself, and I, and all of those things around us, really everything, water, sky, relationships that we have, especially going back through our family, our parents and our grandparents, these are arbitrary distinctions. We are not separate in any meaningful way from the causes and conditions that have led us to this experience right now. And we continue to not be separate from causes and conditions. How could we? The day you call your birthday is really a day to remember your continuation. Every day you are alive is a continuation day. Within your body, birth and death are always taking place. We are coming into existence and going out of existence at every moment of our life. When you scratch or scrub yourself, dry skin is flaked off and new skin cells are born. In the time it takes you to read this paragraph, thousands of cells will have died. But there are so many, you do not have time to organize funerals for them. At the same time, thousands of new cells have been born, but it would be impossible to organize birth celebrations. Every day you transform. Some part of you is being born, and some part is dying. Constantly, every day. There is an intimate connection between birth and death. Without the one, we cannot have the other. As it says in the Gospel, unless the seed dies, it could never bear fruit. So without the one, we cannot have the other. The seeing ourselves as a fruit that is separate from the tree. Yeah, you can hold a fruit and say, look, I'm not holding the tree, but it's arbitrary. It's not really like that. And it's a ludicrous idea to really hold on to that kind of perspective. Without the tree, there is no fruit. Without birth, there is no death. We cannot have the one without the other. We have a tendency to think of death as something very negative, dark, and painful. But it is not like that. Death is essential to making life possible. Death is transformation. Death is continuation. When we die, something else is born, even if it takes time to reveal itself. Or for us to be able to recognize it. There may be some pain at the moment of dying, just as there is pain at the moment of birth, or when the first bud bursts through the bark of a tree in spring. But once we know that death is not possible without the birth of something else, we are able to bear the pain. We need to look deeply to recognize the new that manifests when something else dies. Hide and seek. In my hermitage in France, there is a bush of japonica, Japanese quince. The bush usually blossoms in spring. One winter it was very warm and the flower buds came early. But during the night a cold snap arrived and brought with it frost. The next day, while doing walking meditation, I noticed that all the buds on the bush had died. It was very sad to see. The blossoms hadn't even seen the light of day, and yet they died. A few weeks later, the weather got warm again, and on my walk, I saw new buds on the japonica. They were so beautiful, young and fresh. I was delighted, and I asked them, "Are you the same as the buds that died in the frost, or are you different?" The flowers replied, "We are not the same and we are not different. When conditions are sufficient, we manifest. And when conditions are not sufficient, we go into hiding." Before my mother gave birth to me, she was pregnant with another baby boy, but she had a miscarriage. When I was young, I always wondered, was that my brother or was it me who was trying to manifest? If a baby has been lost, it means that conditions were not sufficient for them to manifest, and the child has decided to withdraw so they can wait for better conditions. I had better withdraw. I'll come back again soon, my dearest. We have to respect their will. If you see the world with eyes like this, you will suffer much less. Was it my brother whom my mother lost? Or maybe I was about to come out, but instead I said, "It isn't time yet," so I withdrew. The insight of emptiness and signlessness can help free us from our grief. The little baby has no separate self. The baby is made of the mother, the father, and so many other causes and conditions. When these elements come together again, The next baby will be neither exactly the same nor different. Nothing is lost. Anyone have something to share about what we've read so far? Your lifespan is limitless. When we speak about a date of birth or time of death, these are really just notions. To say we have a lifespan is also just a notion. These labels and signs are conventional designations that are useful at the level of relative truth, but they are not the ultimate truth. They are not the reality. You can in some way compare this with a movie. In a conventional way, in a relative way, a movie, a story is very convincing. It's very believable. Yeah, very convincing, very believable, even very entertaining. It captures us. And so, at least in a relative way, the story, the ideas, the characters that are being portrayed are relatively true. But in a ultimate way, it is totally fabricated, totally false. It's not true. It's not real. So in the same way, our ideas about a lifespan, oh, I'm going to live this amount of time and then I'm going to die, are useful, conventional designations, but they are not the ultimate truth. They are not the reality. If we are afraid of or angry or sad about death, it is because we are still caught up in our incorrect notions of birth and death. We think death means that from something we will become nothing. But if we see all the ways in which we exist beyond our body, constantly changing forms, we realize nothing is lost, and we no longer feel so angry or afraid. When a cloud becomes rain, we may be tempted to say that the cloud has died. But we know that the cloud's true nature, H2O, hasn't died at all. It has become rain. If we want to see the true nature of the cloud rather than just what it appears to be, we have to free ourselves from the sign cloud. The dying of a cloud is at the same time the birthing of the rain. If the cloud did not die, how could the rain be born? But the cloud need not wait until that moment in order to see the birth of the rain, because like us, the cloud is dying in every moment. We are always changing. We are always arising and passing away. We are always having a new experience, and that new experience is passing away, leading to another new experience. Death in every moment, birth and death moment to moment, arising and passing away moment to moment. Let's say, for example, you heat water in a kettle. As the water heats, some steam already begins to form. There is a more rapid transformation as the temperature rises to 100 degrees Celsius, and more water transforms into vapor. Evaporation is at once the death of water and the birth of vapor, which will later become a cloud in the sky. The same is true for us. Sometimes there is slow transformation, and sometimes there is more abrupt transformation. We don't need to wait until the water of our own life is nearing 100 degrees Celsius to see this. By then, it may be too late. So we don't need to wait until some kind of big event or some kind of panic moment or some kind of major loss comes into our life to see this nature of birth and death, or rather to be very intimate and introspective and contemplative about the nature of our experience, the nature of our self or lack of a self, to look deeply, to look into, to question what is the ultimate truth? What is really going on here? We don't need to wait for some traumatic event to come up to see this impermanence, this change, this arising and passing away moment to moment. If we wait for that, it may be too late for us to really see it and understand it. So we should take the time now, while we are alive, to understand living and dying, in order to free ourselves from anxiety, fear, and sorrow. Whether we are dying quickly or slowly, it is all the same. With this insight, the quality of our life becomes richer, and we appreciate every moment. One day lived deeply with this insight may be worth more than 1,000 days without it. It is the quality of our life that is important, not how long we live. It is the quality of our life that is important, not how long we live. I certainly agree with that. So we'll read one last paragraph here on the topic of alive or dead, and then we will get into our meditation together. But before we read this final paragraph here, anything that anyone would like to share or have an idea about, something that stuck out for them? Alive or dead? When we look at an oak tree, it may be difficult to imagine that it grew out of an acorn. Is that acorn still alive? If it is, then why can't we see it? Or does the acorn no longer exist? If it died, then how come there is an oak tree now? The teachings on signlessness help us break free from our tendency to put things into boxes. We usually try to fit life into one of 4 categories. Is it alive? Is it dead? Is it still in the realm of being? Or in other words, does it still exist? Or has it passed into the realm of non-being? Does it no longer exist? The truth is that we cannot fit reality into the categories of existing and not existing. Once we have touched the ultimate truth, we see that the categories of alive and dead do not apply. Whether it's to a cloud, an acorn, an electron, a star, ourselves, or our beloved ones. Just as we need to liberate ourselves from the idea of a self or a human being that is separate, different from other living beings, we also need to liberate ourselves from the sign and appearance of a lifespan. Your lifespan is not limited to 70, 80, or 100 years, and that is good news. Your body is not yourself. You are much more than this body. You are life without boundaries. You are life without boundaries. So that's going to be our reading portion today for our Buddhist book club today. And now we can take a moment to get comfortable, to find a comfortable position. And having listened to these teachings, this Dharma, wise teachings on signlessness today was the main topic. So to see without relying on appearances, to see without getting stuck on appearances, but rather to look deeply into the nature of what we are experiencing. We practice our meditation now to look into our nature, to look into the nature of our experience, and to see what we find. And when an appearance comes up, some idea, some story, some thought, some fear, some desire, we notice it, we are aware of it, but we don't just take it at face value. We're not deceived by it. We look into the nature of our experience, moment to moment, arising and passing away, moment to moment, birth and death, just breathing, just being aware. So for any meditation, we start, of course, by finding a comfortable position for our body. So everyone can make sure that they are comfortable. And we will start our meditation with the sound of the bell. And the bell invites us to practice. The bell invites us to look deeply in the present, right here and right now. So hearing the sound of the bell, we are invited to turn our light, to turn our awareness inward. Breathing in deeply, we are aware of the whole body. Breathing out, we let go, release any idea about our body. Breathing in deeply, we are aware of our body's fundamental relationship to the environment. Breathing out, we let go, detach from, give up any ideas about our environment. Attending to being with the breath as it flows in and out. Not getting caught or stuck or chained to any appearances or confusions. Simply breathing in and out. Just breathing. Just being aware. There is no need for complicated ideas, for understanding, for thinking, for judging. Right now, to experience reality directly. Just breathing, just noticing this present moment experience. The inhalation and the exhalation. The arising and passing away of phenomena, sensations, experiences, moment to moment, arising and passing away. Just breathing and being aware. thoughts, sensations, mental and physical experiences arising and passing away moment by moment. We are aware of the experiences we're having, looking deeply and attentively to each and every moment. And we do that through this simple way of just breathing, just being aware. And if we find that the mind is particularly busy, or we find ourselves to be a bit upset, a bit scattered, we simply take a deep, conscious breath. Breathing in, bring the mind home to the body, relaxing and settling into just breathing and being aware. Finding home, finding peace right here and right now. Just breathing, just being aware. So after we take a meditation, we can rub our hands together, feel some heat in our hands. We can massage our face, massaging out any tension in our face, our head. our neck. After we do a meditation, it's actually a really great time to give ourselves kind of a self-massage, some self-care. Okay, so I want to thank everyone so much for joining our Buddhist book club, the beginning of chapter 2. I look forward to seeing you all again next week, hopefully at 2 p.m. New York time on Saturday, but we'll have to see how it goes. And look forward to seeing you all again. I hope you got some peace and benefit and wisdom from these teachings. Okay? Be happy, be peaceful. See you again soon.
Thank you, Bante.
Bonder.
Thanks,
Thank
Bonder.
you.
Have a great evening.
Okay, you all take care of yourselves.